gentleness, born to be a queen. I'm the most powerful being in the universe, lifting those around me. You are always first.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to Gem Talk. Today is episode 5. You guys can catch us if you are not tuned in. I know I'm going live, but just in case you're on my live and you want to catch us on YouTube. Do we? We're messing up over here behind the scenes. Technical difficulties?
Okay. That was me.
Listen, it happens.
That was me.
It absolutely happens. But we're going to continue. But you guys can call. Our number today is 862-621-9536. And our topic today, in honor of Mental Health
Tanya.
Awareness Month, is going to be mental health. And we have a guest in the house with us today, Miss Laverne Williams. Thank you for coming, Miss Laverne.
My pleasure.
And just a reminder, we have myself, Franley, and Awanza.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us again. We are really excited about our guest today. And like Fran said, this is episode 5. We are so excited. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so that's what our conversation is going to be about today. You have the phone number. If you have any questions, please feel free to call in. You can type something in the group chat, or if you're on YouTube, go ahead and put it in the comments. We're ready to take your questions. So we know how fast this hour goes. So without any further ado, Fran, you can go ahead and introduce.
Well, I'm actually going to have her introduce herself. So Miss Laverne Williams, first, again, thank you for being here with us, because Awanza and myself, we are not experts on this field. And so we did not want to put anything out there that is false information. So we are so happy to have you here to kind of clarify and answer any questions that we might have. So Miss Laverne, please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. This is an awesome opportunity. I'm so proud of you ladies. And getting out the awareness for May's Mental Health Month is particularly important for the African American community as well.
Yes.
Because historically we have not used mental health services. You know, for those of us who consider ourselves spiritual, we'll go to our clergy for health and healing. And because psychology is a very small part of the seminary curriculum, I have sat in churches for a very long time listening to clergy jack people up from the pulpit. Okay?
That's my Deacon Laverne. That's why I love her.
So a little bit about myself. I have been with the Mental Health Association since 1985. And it's, very difficult to drive a car when you're 7. But
Right.
I actually started out as the office manager, and then I transitioned over to community education because I knew there were populations who were not accessing mental health services: African Americans, Latina population, Asians, and the Muslim community. And I thought, we really have to get the word out, because if you think about the epidemic of HIV and AIDS, not long ago, people were not going to people's funerals. They wasn't visiting them in the hospital. They wouldn't go see them. They wouldn't certainly give them a hug.
Yeah.
Right.
But people are afraid of what they don't understand. So
Exactly.
education. And so when I looked around about what I wanted to do, I said, what? I want to go to the faith community because they're going for health and healing. But again, clergy are not always the first stop that you should make. Mm-hmm. Or if you do, and they recognize maybe 2 or 3 times of counseling, they should refer you on. So they should have the necessary resources to have you go to a mental health professional.
Right.
I looked around, I saw nothing with a face like mine. I'm like, And so at the time, the Division of Mental Health and Hospitals, which is now called the Division of Health and Alcohol, Division of Mental Health and Alcohol, I can't remember the whole acronym, but they saw what I wanted to do, and they gave us a mini grant. The Mental Health Association in New Jersey. And so with the mini grant, I produced a video entitled Anything But Crazy.
Yes.
African American Spirituality and Emotional Wellness. And it deals with how faith communities have or have not been helpful to people's journey to wellness. And so with the video, and I'm dating myself, because if anybody out there remembers the Fuller Brush Company, it was a company that you kind of knocked on doors. A guy had a suitcase and he had all kind of household items. Sort of what I did. I kind of knocked on doors, wanted to know what faith community, right? Wanted to hear the message, and I took it there. So with a PowerPoint and a video, I started the PEWS program. And PEWS stands for Promoting Emotional Wellness and spirituality, and it
Yes.
blends together theology with the behavioral sciences, so that clergy and even service providers can understand what people are going through. For example, as an African American and a faith believer, I know that if I went to someone who was not from my culture, I'll give you a classic example. One of my colleagues had said, I'm treating someone and she's really been hallucinating and I'm not quite sure what to say or do for her. And I asked, okay, well, what did she say? She was African American female. And she said, well, she telling me that she was seeing birds out the window. I said, wow. Okay. She said, so I said, but what exactly, how did she frame it? What exactly did she say? And she said, well, she told me the hawk was outside.
Okay.
Now, for those of you who don't get that one.
So it was cold?
It was cold. Now, she want to give her medication because she thinks she's hallucinating. So we cannot.
was out.
Come on, people. So my point here is, if you do not understand a culture,
That's so real, though.
pass them on to someone else.
Yes, that
Because
is
if I
real.
go and you to talk to you and I tell you what I heard from the God that I saw, I'm not hearing voices. I heard from the God, and if you don't get that,
Absolutely.
so it's just crucial that clergy as well as service providers understand each other. So
Absolutely.
that was someone that they need to treat. So that's just a little bit about, and that was about maybe 15 years ago when Pew's.
Yes, I
debut.
remember. Yeah, I remember that.
So a little bit about the Mental Health Association in New Jersey. We have offices. Our main office is located in Springfield, New Jersey, and we have offices from Morris County to Atlantic County, and we have operators, as a matter of fact, licensed clinicians who answer the phone. I'll give you that number. You can call 1-800-367-8850. I'll say it again. It's 1-800-367-8850. These are live clinicians who will answer the phone. You can stay anonymous if you would like. They have information. We constantly update our database. So if you're calling and looking for services throughout wherever you are in New Jersey, that's a good resource number for you to have.
Okay, so I just wanted to stop there for just a moment. So in the event that somebody did want to call that number, what would be a reason? Like, why would you think I need to seek mental health treatment? I know you had mentioned hallucinations, but are there any other symptoms that people should kind of be looking out for or be aware of, either for themselves or because they recognize it in someone else, that maybe there's something that they need to seek further treatment for?
Oh, absolutely. It could be a person who is now isolating themselves. They're not coming out of their room. They maybe not being unkept. Maybe they were a very sharp, snazzy dresser. All of a sudden, they're looking disheveled. Maybe have difficulty concentrating, have difficulty focusing, have difficulty even just being aware sometimes what day it is, maybe not eating or eating too much. There's so many reasons. But again, educating yourself about the signs and symptoms, because oftentimes persons who are going through don't recognize the signs and symptoms themselves.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds to me like depression.
And depression can also look like somebody very, very happy.
Really?
Yes, depression, because anxiety and depression sort of mimic each other sometimes.
Yes.
Okay.
And you don't often recognize which sign is which. It depends on the person. And so you could be upbeat and happy because you're pushing yourself to do that because you're really feeling so low inside, or you're stuck in the bed and you can't get up because you are so depressed. So depression and anxiety kind of mimic each other. So you really have to know the difference.
Okay,
And,
so there's a huge misconception because I always considered depression to be low. I never would have thought that depression could also be the other extreme.
Well, that's
So
what
what happens? So what happens is, because I have depression and I've had it for many years, and exactly what you say is so true, because if no one knew that or knew me, what they see is this upbeat Wanda. I'm talking, I'm friendly, I'm laughing, I'm trying to sing in the choir. I can't sing in the choir. But they don't know that when I would go home, I would crash because it took everything that I had to just stay on point and stay focused and stay upbeat. So that's why there's that extreme, because we're either up or down. And if I have to be up, I got to muster up everything. So if you didn't know me, it wouldn't look normal, because you might see me one way one day and the next day it's a complete opposite.
Okay.
But those people that someone like, and I'll use myself again, the people that I'm around constantly, they're just used to seeing me that way. But they don't see the days that I can't get out of bed. They don't see, the days where just to get up in my house from my couch to the bathroom, you might as well have asked me to paint Bloomfield Avenue. Like I cannot.
Quite a task.
I can't. And so, that's why this episode too, as well as just this month, is so important to me, because mostly everybody knows my story about domestic violence and substance abuse. They don't know the depression piece.
Okay.
Because I don't talk about it, and not because of embarrassment or anything. Like, I'm kind of on the other side. It's just that those other two things kind of was always in the forefront. But the domestic violence, the substance abuse, and the depression,
All goes hand in hand.
it all goes hand in hand, and I remember getting that diagnosis and looking at the doctor like, what? But through therapy, and this is why we wanted to have the conversation too about the children, because through therapy and through going through medication and different types of therapy, I realized that my depression started right around the time that my father died, when I was 9 years old.
Absolutely.
But who's looking for, like you said, those signs? And when I think back, I was bad as hell in high school. Like, I was bad.
We can curse on here.
But right. But
In front of the good deacon, go right ahead. It's quite all right. It's quite all right, ladies. Be yourself.
But in hindsight, I was bad. Like, but if somebody knew what to look for or how to distinguish being bad from that cry for help, it may have been diagnosed a little bit earlier. And, some of that self-destructive behavior that I eventually got into, could have been arrested at some point. So, those degrees of depression, it's that invisible disease.
And you hit it right on the head, Wanda. We statistics definitely show that if you arrested early, people have a much better chance of living a healthy and normal life. But again, you have to know some of the signs and symptoms, and then the highs and lows. That's what bipolar means. Bipolar means you're up one day and you're down the next. It's like,
Okay.
And it came from the term of the opposite ends of the earth, and that's what it's about. And so, depression and anxiety.
I'm sorry, Miss Laverne. Hold on one sec, because
Certainly.
Wanda's over here messing up our.
I'm sorry. I was trying to.
Oh, does it? All
right.
Thank you, Mr. Engineer.
We won't talk about Fran
We're
and
all-
her phone.
Listen,
we'll
we are
just talk
all
about
figuring it
Wanda.
out. We are all figuring it out.
Now we all figuring it
behind
out.
the
But
scenes.
before it
Listen,
was just
episode 5.
Wanda.
This is still trial and error.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here. And let me just drop the phone number once again, just in case you have any questions or comments that you would like to leave. It's 862-621-9536. And we are in the studio today with Gem Talk with Miss Laverne Williams, and she is our expert in mental health. Again, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. I know we had some stuff going on, so I just want to refocus us. So I'm sorry, Miss Laverne.
That's the teacher in her.
Get back on track. Go ahead.
All right. So and so Wanda brought up the fact that she probably was having signs and symptoms at 9 years old with depression and anxiety that no one really had noticed or focused on. And again, we do want to stress that the earlier you catch, well, like any other disease, and that's what mental illness is. It's a dis-ease. It's a dis-ease with the mind. And people are afraid
I like the
of
breakdown. Yeah.
People are afraid of what they don't understand.
Right.
So I always say education, because of the stigma. Now, we all know somebody in our family probably, or somebody, a neighbor or somebody.
Right.
How many of us have seen someone go to the doctor for many, many years complaining of a backache or some kind of something physical, but the doctor hasn't found it?
Right.
Yes.
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 Because if you don't take care of your mind, it's going to exacerbate somewhere else.
Yes.
I remember going through some depression, and my mother was at life's end, and I thought I had it all together. I'm a deacon. I'm a social worker. I got this. But then I started having panic attacks, and my skin broke out.
Wow.
You know, so I don't know how many of you can see me, but, you know, this is some smooth skin here. There's no Maybelline.
Let me make sure y'all can see this on my live just in case.
This
All
is
right,
some
and that
smooth
is
skin
Maybelline.
Yes.
right here. Okay.
Yes, Miss Williams.
And I have no shame in my game.
That's right.
At 68, I got it like that.
Go,
That's
girl.
right.
Yes.
So moving right along, there's no shame in my game. When you really have to just recognize what's going on, and that's again about knowing yourself. As a matter of fact, I wrote an article that was entitled "A Checkup from the Neck Up."
Oh, I like it. Very catchy.
It's for women of color, what you need to know about mental health. And again, we need to take care of
Awesome.
ourselves. You know, now if we spend as much time on our mind as we do for our hair and our nails and our you know, clothes, it would be awesome. So again, I think the mind, because one of our slogans from the Mental Health Association, our national office is, there is no health without mental health. What can you do without your mind?
Right.
Not much of anything.
Right.
And so we just stress the fact that if you're taking care of your mind, the rest will follow.
So
Right.
why do you think that there is such a disconnect between people seeking help for something visible, a broken bone or you know, a toothache, or as opposed to someone seeking it's really just another part of our body?
That's right.
So why do you think people are so hesitant to accept the fact that there needs to be some type of upkeep up there?
Well, because of the stigma involved, you know, think about this. If someone had a broken leg or they was in the hospital, people would rush to maybe ask them, can they help them?
Yeah.
Can I bring you a casserole? Can I cook
Right,
for you?
right,
All
right.
right. How many people has brought a chicken dinner to the psychiatric ward? Not a soul.
Right.
Not a soul.
Right.
Okay. So
Right.
It's the stigma involved. You
Yeah.
know, people will say, and that's why I entitled the video "Anything But Crazy." You know, people would identify with being, you know, prostituting or whoremongers or drug
Right,
addiction,
right.
but they don't want to. They don't want to identify with a mental illness.
Right.
So what consists of, so I know we hear the terms anxiety, we hear depression in kids, we hear ADD and ADHD. What else would fall under the umbrella of a mental health? And maybe am I saying it wrong? Is it a disorder? Is it an illness?
It can be any of all.
Okay.
But it really depends. Each case is different.
Okay.
But again, oftentimes I've heard people say, "Well, I'm not taking my child to a psychiatrist or a psychologist." And just to clarify, psychiatrist is someone who can dispense medication. A psychologist is someone who is usually doing talk or behavioral therapy.
Or the therapy. Right. Okay.
But most times people don't want to take them because I'm just going to give them some medication. Well, you know what? Statistics say that we don't finish the medication anyway.
Anyway. Right.
And
Right.
so we need to be able to, you know, people would not hesitate to take an aspirin.
Right.
So why would you not take something that's going to help clear your mind?
Right.
Now, I know
and
that
you
there
know,
are-
sometimes I'm sorry. Sometimes, because again, like just in my journey, you know, it's depression or you know anxiety or things like that. They can be situational. You know, like you said, and I think that part of that stigma issue or part of that I don't want to is because immediately I'm sick or I'm crazy. No, it's just like if you may have caught a cold or maybe you had a virus or, you know, it's situational. Things happen in life that sometimes we really are not prepared for and can't deal with, especially, you know, trauma, like a sudden death or even someone being diagnosed, you know, close with a terminal illness or something. So, you know, depression, anxiety, those can be situational, you know, and the doctor will tell you that. They usually do, let's see how you feel in 2 weeks. Let's see how you feel in, you know, and you're monitored as if you were going for your blood pressure or your, you know, just your regular checkup. So like you said, we have mammograms, we have, you know, colonoscopies and just regular yearly physicals. we can do
Yeah, because I do
a
think that there
mental
is a
health
big
checkup.
difference between
Absolutely.
experiencing depression and suffering from depression. I feel like
Yes.
there's so many of us who have experienced depression
Absolutely.
in different times in our life and maybe didn't have the language to say, this is what I'm feeling and
Yep.
this is what depression. For a long time, I didn't know what depression, what you just hear the word and it just sounds so bad.
Right.
And then once you do your research and you're like, oh, these are the symptoms of depression. It's like, oh, I've experienced that. Now, I didn't stay there for a
Right.
significant amount of
Right.
time or have to seek treatment for it. I was able to kind of get out of it when life turned around and you're able to kind of pull yourself in different situations and circumstances. But there are people who struggle with getting out of
Hey, Michelle.
that dark space and have to seek treatment for it. So I do think that there's a big difference between
Yeah,
experiencing it and then suffering from
Absolutely.
it. Now, I do want to touch base because, again, I always got to bring it back to the kids. But in children, it's kind of defined as not reaching emotional or developmental milestones or not having kind of coping techniques and skills to kind of navigate and get through different things that they're experiencing. And that's 1 in 5. Now, is that the same? Because at the adult level, those milestones are pretty much already, hopefully, Again, that's why we have Miss Williams in the building. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, okay, you said a mouthful, so let me see what I can start with. So number one, first of all, just so you know, the median age before someone will report about a mental illness is 10 years. So can you imagine saying you broke an arm and you walk around for 10 years?
Yeah.
My arm doesn't feel right. And before you go get it, no, you wouldn't do that.
Right.
And so, and a lot of times, here's what I get most often. People want to know, well, how will you know if you are really having some issues or if it's just, as you said, situational until
Right.
life
Okay.
turns around? If for a couple of weeks or a month or more, if it's interfering with the 4 L's, living, laughing, learning, or loving, any of those things are interrupted as you can't function through them, it's an issue.
Can you repeat that?
Absolutely. It's living, laughing, learning, and loving.
Living, laughing, learning, and loving.
So for
okay.
any of those areas or where you really can't get it done or it's affected, that's an issue.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Schizophrenia oftentimes will show up around college age, maybe around early 20s when oftentimes you'll hear people who are going to college and all of a sudden they had to drop out and you're thinking, well, they seemed okay. Well, again, that was someone probably through childhood who's had some issues that were not addressed. And then it started to manifest once they had that big change of leaving home and going to school and on their own. So that's a
Right.
crucial age too.
So
And
what categorizes someone as being schizophrenic? I mean, you hear about the voices that they hear in their head. Is it more to that?
yes, schizophrenia really attacks some of your different senses. So it could be taste, touch, sight, sound, or smell. And can be all 5 of those. Taste, touch, sight, sound, or smell. Usually it will not manifest all of those symptoms at the same time.
Okay.
But somebody could be hearing voices as well as smelling something that's not quite there either.
Really?
I have an exercise that we do. It's called hearing distressing voices. And for about an hour or so, participants will wear a headset of what the voices sound like. And while you're listening to that headset, I'm conducting different exercises so you can see with people who hear voices what that simulation is like.
Wow.
Now, how do you know if it's time to seek treatment? Because I wouldn't think if I smell a lemon and there's no lemons in sight, let me reach out to a mental health counselor. I would never think that.
Okay, with the 4 L's. But is it interrupting? Can you still do your day, what you normally do in the day? Because you smell lemons that are not there? Probably. So if it's
Okay. All right. So
when
one has to coincide with the other. Okay.
living, laughing, learning, and loving. Your daily activity of living. If that's interrupted in any significant way, it's probably time to go talk to someone.
And you know, the thing too with it is that because depression, you know, even I don't really know about schizophrenia, but
Drink some
I
water.
know that
Absolutely.
it's isolating. Right. And so, you know, and again, I'll speak for me. And I think that some of the challenge also, when you start to feel that, so now I'm feeling a little off, I'm feeling a little sad, I'll just take a drink. You know, I'm going to go out, you know, oh man, I had a rough day at work. I'm going to go out with the girls and
Yeah.
we're going to have a drink. Or I'm going to go smoke a joint, you know, or I'm going to go shopping.
Yeah.
I'm going to go do some retail therapy.
I'm gonna go eat
I'm
this
gonna go-
whole cake.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And, honestly, if you don't have people around you that are able to say, hey, Laverne, what's going on?
Absolutely.
Like you've been, what's going on? Because I know if nobody calls it to your attention, that could also kind of delay you seeking help, because if you keep saying you don't feel good and you're going to go get a drink or you're going to go shopping and nobody starts to go, okay, Fran, hold on. Like,
Yeah.
what's really going on? Because we might not tend to think that anything is wrong, or we'll start to think that these other things are what's making me better, self-medicating.
Yeah, well, we have
so
a way
that's
of
usually where it starts.
kind of making all of those things okay.
Absolutely. Rationalizing and justifying things.
Yeah, justifying.
Yep.
all
Because
of those things.
because of the stigma. We
Right.
don't
Yeah.
want to say that, we're crazy or that something's wrong.
Well, that's what I'm giving this thing. Two things. One, I'm going to bring it back to the children as well as I just lost my train. You talked about, like you said, you're not feeling good. You come home. You say, you know what? I'm going to have a drink. Well, that's the same with children. Learn behavior. They come home. Mom, I need to tell you about my day. Hold on, Dad, I need to hold on. Let me get a drink. Let me relax, and then we can talk. That is learned behavior. You know
Yeah.
what? That's what I need now for me to relax.
There
you
go.
It's just
Yeah.
normal.
And it becomes kind of word association.
Absolutely.
They hear
Yep.
relax, they think mom's pouring a glass of wine.
Exactly.
Relax, mom is eating the rest of the roast.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Absolutely, Fran. You got it.
Exactly.
And you talked about, you just said something in terms of persons. I lost my train of thought. It was really on point. Lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
About
We'll
people
come right
being
back to it.
around, having people around you.
No, again, that's important too, to make sure that that person knows you well enough. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many things out there. We have a wellness and recovery action plan, and that's a plan. Oftentimes, persons have a will that people know what to do for them in the event of their demise, right? What do you have in place while you're still here?
Yeah.
If you're incapacitated, what do you want? I mean, if you're in the hospital, does someone know to come water your flowers or help walk the dog? So it's a plan
Right.
for your everyday life now.
Okay, and that's
that
the
we put
RAP
in.
program,
Yes.
right?
Yes, the Wellness and Recovery Action Plan.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wellness and
And-
Recovery Action Plan.
It's what to do for yourself, and someone else in the event that they cannot take care of themselves. That should be put in place.
I
Absolutely.
feel like I am learning so much today. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, and please, if you have any questions, for Deacon Laverne, please call in. We are live on Facebook, so you can go ahead and type it in the chat.
Yep.
I have it close enough now that I can read it, so you can go ahead and go ahead and put that in.
And
put that
again,
in
the
the
number
chat.
is 862-621-9536. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to call in. We are taking calls live right now. So again, I just wanted to go back to some of the maybe less common mental disorders like schizophrenia or a developmental disorder. Does that require, because I know we have a lot of parents, I have a lot of parents that actually reach out to me. Is the answer to that always medication? Because people are very
Good question.
hesitant just because of that. They think that that's going to be, the end result of going to the doctor in the first place.
Absolutely not. It all depends. Again, this is just an individual. I like to explain mental. First of all, I usually say the word emotional wellness.
Okay.
Because back in the day when I was first starting out, I would go to health fairs in different places and I'll have this big sign, mental illness.
Right.
Well, I was sitting down in the church basement with my church punch. And you know what that is, guys? Church punch is ginger ale and fruit punch, right? And maybe ice cream if you had a bigger budget. And so I knew that emotional wellness sounded a little kinder.
Absolutely.
And so when I asked people, would you like to learn more about your emotional wellness? Then they started to come. And now I can happy to say that when I am out and around, people will come over and get information. People will come up
Well,
and start
sounds very
asking questions.
spa-like.
Yeah,
Right. Exactly.
Emotional wellness center.
Yes.
It sounds like you're going to get like a nice hot towel, maybe some eucalyptus spray. It
Right.
doesn't quite
Well,
sound so intimidating.
So there you go, intimidating. And people really are, when you think about, again, if you said to somebody, describe to me someone who has cancer, they probably would say they are a survivor. They are courageous. But you start talking about somebody, describe to me about somebody who may have emotional challenges, they're crazy.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
And so
They're
with that type
crazy.
of language, that's why people will not seek help. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to hear that.
Yeah. And I've definitely had instances, and again, the people that know me, my family, my close friends, they understand what that is. But people who don't really know me or don't, like you said, don't understand, there are times when I am transparent and I will say, you know what, like I'm struggling with my depression today. And I kind of get the,
Yeah, people don't know. I just want to stop you for 1 second, engineer, only because I have some people that said that they're trying to call in that the number's not available. So I just want to put that out there real quick. But go ahead, Wanda. Yes, people don't know what to say
and
to
they
that.
don't, and they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And so, I always tell people, listen, my depression or depression does not define that
right.
person. It is something that I had to learn. I had to learn how to lean into. I had to get some acceptance with it. And so, now it's just so important for people to know that you can be transparent with it. You're not alone, and it does not define you.
And that's why I love first person language. You don't say, you wouldn't say, oh, here comes cancer.
Right.
Okay. So, but you have people say, well, here comes a nut. Why do you do that? Right?
Here comes crazy.
Here comes crazy. That's right.
Here come crazy.
Okay.
Yes.
So if first
Yes.
person, the person is not the illness. And I absolutely love that one. You're right on target.
That's right.
The correct way to say is a person with
Exactly. Right.
whatever that is.
Right.
We just have really they made people feel stigmatized, and they just won't go for the help that they need because
Right.
it's so negative. But again, hopefully, because of this show and other things that we do, that some of the language will change.
Yep.
People start feeling, even just the fact of saying drug addiction
Right.
or no, drug abuse.
Right.
Abuse sounds like really, you
Right.
know,
Right.
Sounds intense.
substance use disorders.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Disorders as opposed to abuse. So just
Exactly.
small language changes could make a big difference in how people feel about themselves.
And you know what I wanted to ask you too, because again, through my, is that the phone ringing?
Oh, sure.
Yes.
We have a caller. Hello, hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, you're on Gym Talk.
Hi, this is Nicole.
Hi, Nicole. Can you all hear? Or am I the only one that can hear?
Yes, we can.
Oh,
I can
everyone can
We can
hear.
hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone can hear. How you doing, everyone?
Hi, Nicole.
So okay, so my question is, hi. So my question, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay, so my question is, I've been doing a lot of self internalization, I don't know what you call it, self-awareness, self-reflection, blah, blah, blah. And it's come to my attention that I isolate myself a lot. And I had to think back. I mean, I went as far back to think like my daughter, when I was in labor, I kind of like kicked everyone out the room. When things happen, I kind of like want to be alone. I shut people out. I disconnect. And I'm not meaning to be mean or hurtful or am I even thinking in that manner. It's just the way that I cope, I think. Is that a part of mental like illness or a piece of me that might need mental help?
No, it sounds like to me, and I'm not a clinician, I'm a social worker, but it sounds like to me that's how you take care of yourself. So, again, is it interfering with your life? Your living, learning, laughing, or loving? Is it interfering with any of those four things?
Be honest.
Yes.
Okay.
Then
Yes,
the
it
answer
has.
would be
It
yes.
has. And it's made other people feel uncomfortable, and I don't want to do that. and I guess sometimes I miss out on things that I don't necessarily know if I'm missing it, but I'm just not there to participate in it. So missing it, I don't know, but definitely not showing up or being in certain situations and missing what maybe could have been going on as far as maybe happiness or joy or laughter. I do miss out on that.
Miss Laverne.
Okay. So yes, I would think that, you know what? Again, a number you can call, you could be completely anonymous, just to talk a little bit about what you're feeling, is 973-571-4100. All right? And that's the mental health. It's called New Jersey Mental Health Cares, and it's staffed by clinicians, and they can probably give you some pointers about maybe what you're going through and maybe where to seek some help. And it doesn't mean psychiatric or medication, but it's just good, because if you're feeling something, there is something.
Right, exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
And the first step is always that awareness. And when even when if I'm dealing with like a victim survivor or anything,
Mm-hmm.
and they start to talk about, I feel this or I feel that, like that's a huge step.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge step to be able to just have that self-awareness and then be willing to take that next step. So we'll
Great.
we'll make sure we have that number for everyone so that they can call. But I think it's great, Nicole, that you are able to, just kind of start to identify
Absolutely.
some things that, might just need a little bit of attention. I think that's awesome.
So again, the bottom line is, if it is interfering with the 4 L's, then that is something to be mindful of.
And
Absolutely.
that's living, laughing, loving,
And learning.
and learning.
learning.
Living, laughing, loving, learning.
Okay.
Awesome.
Good
Thank
to know.
you so much
I
for
got
calling in.
Thank you for
Thanks, Nicole.
calling.
Thank you.
Do we have another caller?
Okay. Well, in the meantime, I know that a lot of these kind of mental disorders or, and again, I don't want to use the emotional disorders are kind of either biological, psychological. Are they genetic?
Absolutely. To be all three. Like, again, I like to explain, emotional challenges. I have a cold, and so do you, but your eyes are running, you're coughing, I'm sneezing. It's a cold.
Right.
So it's a blanket term, mental illness. It's a blanket term for different
Okay.
symptoms, but it depends on the person and what they're going through and what kind of signs and symptoms that they're exhibiting.
So if
Okay.
you have a parent or someone else in your family who has experienced either anxiety and depression in the past or has schizophrenia or anything like that, is that something that you should be? Is there preventative measures, or is it just something that you should be aware
You
of?
should be very much aware of it, and you could be predisposed to just have that condition.
Right.
Doesn't mean you always will, and it could skip a generation. But yes, just be aware of. So it's important. to
Yeah,
know
we
your
have
family
another call,
history.
guys. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, caller. Welcome to Gem Talk.
Hi, ladies. This is Dove. How are you?
Hi, Dev.
I just want to say thank you guys for having this conversation. I think it's very, very important for us to do so.
You're welcome.
But I also did want to ask really quickly, like, if after you've done everything you possibly can, like you already know that this is what you're going through. This is, you've done the motivational talks, you've done the therapy, you've done the research, you have the education, but nothing seems to be working.
Miss Laverne.
Then what?
There are so many different options out there, and maybe sometimes persons think that they have tried it all, but there's always something different you can try. There's so many different ways to be able to have some behavioral health, different ways to regulate the mind. So if you like to call that phone number, I will talk to you personally off radio.
And I just wanted to just stop you for one moment, Miss Laverne, only because it's been brought to my attention that they can't hear the caller. So I'm just going to repeat what the caller has said. And she
certainly.
said that, what if you have done everything that you can do in regards to therapy, watching motivational videos, being positive, and nothing seems to be working? What else could you or should you do in regards to kind of getting out of your emotional funk?
Okay, so I wanted to just share again that You can call me offline. So 973-571-4100, and it's extension 130. I'll be happy to, talk to you later. I want to follow up with you.
And there we have
Thank
it,
you,
Miss
Kim.
Laverne.
Did you get
Sure.
the number? Do we need to repeat the
No,
number
thank-
for you?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
It's 973-571-4100, extension 130. And I'll speak with you, and then I can pass you along. But we were talking. I'm glad that you called in, because you're still doing the right thing for yourself.
Absolutely.
You notice something's there, and you're taking the time to research it. So I think that's admirable. So I'll be happy to help.
Absolutely.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you for
much.
calling.
And you know what? To that point, that was one of the things I wanted to mention too. Is getting people to that point where they start to self-advocate, for themselves, and say, you know what, something is not right.
Yeah.
And find that one person, like that one person that you can trust, that you can give anything to, and be able to kind of talk things through. That was the other question that I had for you too, Deacon Laverne, is in addition to we're going to therapy, we're on our meds, and we're kind of following along the clinical way, right? So what are some other things that we can kind of do to come alongside that? Like, I know for me, it was like starting to take walks, starting to read. Like because for me with depression, I learned movement is very important. If I could get up and actually start walking, that revelation, I was like, oh, wow. So what are some other like things that, someone can do, almost like the caller said, we've got some things in place, but that holistic kind of self-advocacy steps that someone might be able to take.
There are so many. I mean, it would be helpful if you could find your passion, whatever that is. So it could be painting, as you said already, going for walks, motivational tapes, a faith community, if that's where your heart is. Even just for me, when I'm feeling a certain kind of way, I like to watch old movies.
Okay.
Not the ones with all the profanities. And
Right, right.
Just something that I can say. When
Not Boys in the Hood.
Right.
Oh, I like that too.
Oh,
But,
pardon me. Oops.
but sometimes I just like
Sorry,
to take
Deacon.
it back to when America was simple. And
Something light,
something
like-
like Leave It to Beaver and Andy Griffin.
Yes,
Just
I know
shows
you
like
love
that.
Andy Griffith. That's your show.
I
Lady
love
Mary.
Lucy.
Yes.
So that's for me. So again, there are so many things you can really do.
Okay.
I think I mentioned painting, and even
Now,
helping
actually,
others, volunteering.
yes, and Dawn, one of my girlfriends, Dawn, she's online here, and she says that she's helped several people with aromatherapy,
Yes.
and I just bought a diffuser. We have another caller. Okay, let the caller come in. Yeah, I just started using a diffuser, and it
Nice.
really started to make a difference. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. How are you all?
Hi, welcome to Gem Talk.
Okay, so I was listening to the cast, and this is something I've been dealing with, mental health issues, pretty much throughout my entire life. Being adopted, abused, sexually, physically, and it has carried on throughout my life. I'm currently in my 30s. I'm currently seeing a psychotherapist, and I am currently on medication. My thing is this. I was listening, and I found that being that my mother was on drugs, my father, a severe alcoholic, he actually died 7 years ago from alcoholism. And I don't know if that's something that affected me all throughout my life because I've never had that bond with a parent, being adopted, and so on and so forth. Even my adoptive mother was not a loving mother. So it's like, who do I reach out to? I find myself speaking to my therapist consistently about these things over and over and over. And I think personally it has affected me beyond the point where I don't even know how to love anymore. Do I love myself? I question that every day. How do I love myself? How do I know? So I have children also, and I find that I'm very, I don't want to say disconnected, but when it comes to love and bonding, I don't see that. My daughter said to me yesterday, I was speaking to one of my older daughters. My younger daughter said, Mom, how come you don't love me like that? Wow. That tore me completely apart. My oldest daughter and I had the closest relationship anybody probably would ever have on this planet. But that's something that really touched me. And listening to you all, the clinician, you touched on something with a caller, not the last call, the previous call, that really said, you know what, let me call in here because it's something I'm not doing right. Even with my own clinician, something's still not right. For years, I'm seeing the same clinician and therapist rather, and she's just not, I guess, giving me what I need. Because again, I talk to her about these same things over and over. I need to know where to go from here.
Okay, I'm so glad you called in. And yes, just like anything else, if it's not working, you move on.
Absolutely.
There are so many clinicians out there who might be more helpful to you. And so if it's not working for you, again, I would call. Again, we have a database that's full. We'll give you some pointers. And that number is 973-571-4100. You can ask for extension 250 if that's more comfortable. And 250 will bring you right to the New Jersey Mental Health Care's helpline and talk to a clinician, a live clinician from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. We also have persons who answer our phones who have traveled that journey of mental health. Emotional challenges, and we've trained them so that, because oftentimes people do not want to talk to a clinician, they want to talk to someone who's traveled that journey before.
Right. And caller, I'd like to just offer, if you have an employee assistance program at your job, because I literally am in the process of going through what you just are talking about. Changing the medication, changing my therapist, because those medications and that therapist took me as far as they could go. And now I need to change. My life is shifting. I'm getting older. Things are changing. And so I need different help. And I started with the employee assistance program at my job, where you get a certain amount of free sessions, with a therapist, and you're able to kind of go to a few of them, until you find one that's right for you. So, again, just like Deacon Laverne just said, if you feel that something's changing or different, then it probably is, and you are your best advocate. So, thank you so much for calling in, because I'm sure there's other people with that same question.
And as a student advocate, I just want to mention just very briefly that you may also want to look into seeking something similar, maybe not as extreme, but something similar for your children, because they are, on the receiving end, they're feeling that, whatever it is that you're putting out there, whatever it is that they are not experiencing, that they may see other students or other kids that they play with experiencing, they feel it, and they may not be able to articulate that, but that may show up somewhere down the line later. They may seek it in other places, and you just want to be mindful of where their point of view is as well. So even if it's not something as extreme as seeking out therapy for them, but just giving them some sort of outlet to be able to voice what it is that they're feeling, to kind of help to put some language to those feelings.
Absolutely.
Or the last thing, you may want to try the New Jersey Psychological Association, because they have their wealth of information too in terms of psychiatrists and psychologists. So New Jersey Psychological Association, or you can call the Mental Health Association in New Jersey.
Okay.
Thank you so
One
much
more
for
quick
calling
thing
in.
before I let you
Sure.
go. I failed to mention, I also was placed in New Jersey on a domestic violence, domestic violence case. That's something my kids are not really, they haven't experienced me going through that, but they see the result of what I've been through, because I know I've been very distant. I know I've been very standoffish. This is one of the reasons why I know my daughter said what she said. Again, I'm going to take heed to what you all said, seek out maybe different help, because it's still affecting me to this day, to this very moment, actually. So when I get the chance, I'll make sure, this is my first time tuning in, but I'll make sure I stay tuned. So therefore, hopefully I get exactly what my family and I need.
And just also be aware that Awanda here is a domestic violence survivor and counselor. So if there is anything in addition to, she has some great resources to provide as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I will definitely be in tune. And,
Thank you.
God bless you all. And
Thank you.
again.
Thank you for
so
listening.
much for tuning in.
All right.
Oh, wonderful. And I don't know how well are we doing on time. We're kind of wrapping up in our last 10 minutes. But I feel like I have just learned so much today, Miss Laverne. I feel like there's so
awesome.
much kind of like an onion, just kind of peeled back the layers onto all of the misconceptions and the misinformation out there regarding mental health. And I just want to encourage anyone who is feeling. Again, she said, if you feel something's there, something's probably there.
Yes.
And if you're feeling any type of way regarding your emotional state, feeling unstable, or if there are people in your family, you're noticing some things, that there are definitely some resources out there. And again, Ms. Laverne, if you want to share that number one more time.
Certainly. This is to the New Jersey Mental Health Cares, and that telephone number is 1-800-367-8850 or 973-571-4100, extension 250 for the New Jersey Mental Health Cares helpline. Also, programs are available for mental health first aid for youth. They have different modules for youth, for adults, for older adults, for first responders. Mental health first aid is the help that you provide someone who is having maybe an emotional crisis. You keep yourself and that person calm until professional help arrives.
Oh, awesome.
It's awesome. So,
Okay.
Again, look up the Mental Health Association in New Jersey. We have a wealth of information on our website, www.mhanj.org.
Okay.
Please look at the Mental Health Association in New Jersey's website. We have a wealth of information. We have speakers who come out. We have a speakers bureau. We do different trainings. And again, we have our clinicians who answer the phone, and we just check us out.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And we'll put we'll make sure that we have that information. Those of you that are following us, we'll give our social media handles shortly, just before we sign off. But we will definitely make sure that we have that information up on all social media platforms, so that you will be able to receive that readily and or contact any one of us if you really desire to have some further information.
Absolutely. And before we actually do go ahead and give that information, Wanda has a great event that she's going to be participating in very soon. And we just want to take a moment to just go ahead and talk about that for a quick second while we have the time.
Quick second. Okay, while we have the time. So again, why this was just really so important to me. Like I said, most of my platform has always been about domestic violence. And so at the end of May, I'll be in Atlanta, and there's a tour called Crazy Like a Fox, Black mental health awareness. And the young lady who is doing this tour, her name is Melanie Hill, and she has an amazing story about how she got to this place of bringing women together to be able to share their experiences with mental health. And I'm just so excited to be able to now actually kind of peel back this other layer. So I'll be in Atlanta on May 25th. That's the first leg of the tour. It will also be in Baltimore, Philly, and North Carolina. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So please stay tuned for more information about that. Like my good friend Deacon Laverne said, if you feel like something is wrong, then something is wrong. And it's okay to self-advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
It's also okay if people don't understand. It's okay. They don't have to. This is about self-care and self-awareness. So we're so grateful for everyone that tuned in and all the callers. And thank you so much, Deacon Laverne. Thank you so much. I love you so much.
Love you too.
Thank
I just
you.
have one quick shout out.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And there's a runner group called Too Much Stuff.
Oh.
There is an epidemic of people who tend to hoard in New Jersey.
Wow.
And so we should be able to just call
If
them
you
in the
have
Health
too much
Association.
stuff, look that up. Too much stuff.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much. And to any parents who are out there, if you start to recognize some differences in your kids, make sure that you get them the same type of mental health that you would get for yourself. Make sure that you treat them the same way that you would treat your own brain, because it affects the young ones just as much as it affects us adults. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Gem Talk. You can catch me at Girls Embracing Manifestation on Instagram or under Mrs.Lee2U. And at Wanda,
I'm on Instagram at Uniquely Wanda. So please hit me up, DM me if you have any questions.
Yes.
And stay tuned for our next episode. We'll see you soon.
Yes, and we'll make sure to provide you guys with those resources under our Instagrams, and as well as the next time that we're going to be having the podcast. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today.
Thank you.
Mental health awareness. Be good to yourself. Be good to your brain.
Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yay!